What's going on, guys? Shonen Express here, coming to you with another weekly newsletter video. This week was just absolutely incredible, so let's get right into it. So first of all, the cover this week went to One Piece. One Piece, no stranger to having the cover, definitely the biggest manga in the magazine right now, so, you know, getting the cover makes a lot of sense. The cover itself was pretty cool. Like Luffy, Yamato, and Momonosuke were on the cover there. Momo obviously in his dragon form. It was a cool cover. It wasn't, nothing. It wasn't too incredible to me, but it was definitely all right. But what really was incredible to me was the double color page spread that they got at the beginning of the chapter. This was super cool. I loved seeing all of the first mates of the various crews that we've met throughout the journey there. You see Marco, Killer, Katakuri, King, Ben Beckman's there, Rayleigh. Sabo is there, which I forgot actually that he was the second in command of the Revolutionary Army. I know they told us that, but I forgot that. I like the pseudo confirmation that Shiryu is like the first mate of the Blackbeard Pirates now. And obviously Beppo and Zoro there are really cool. It was a great color page spread. I loved seeing it. I love images like this. All these first mates. Some of my favorite characters are on this color page. So it's definitely cool to see. I really liked that. But getting into the meat of the chapter, guys, this was an incredible One Piece chapter. I mean, just off the charts amazing. We'll get into some of the stuff I think made it really amazing later, but first of all, at the beginning of the chapter, we get defined that Kid's Devil Fruit is the magnet fruit, at least in the Viz translation, and its awakening ability is to give magnetization, the properties of being a magnet, to other things. In this case, it was Big Mom. So that's the awakening ability the Kid has. Kid obviously shakes off when Law asks him, I don't have to tell you everything, which is, it's good, very in character, but I think it's pretty safe to say that is what this does. But this fight just ramped up again. Big Mom using part of her soul to turn herself giant and looks like animate some of the beams that came out of her and everything. She's not dead, but she's definitely been hurt by this attack, which is a feat with Big Mom, right? Because we saw, in the Whole Cake Island arc, it is nearly impossible just to injure Big Mom, but these guys were able to do it. Which is definitely a feat. She even says that. So I'm looking forward to seeing this fight progress. I really almost wish that we had time to sit and chew on this fight for longer, but unfortunately we don't. They keep going back and forth. For this chapter, I'll let it pass because what we go to is amazing, but I really want to spend time in this fight with Kid and Law against Big Mom. I think it's a great matchup. I think it's a matchup that they're going to win, actually. But I wish we would stick with it for a little while. But we also got some other interesting things going on. Apu and Drake both encountered Yamato. Yamato obviously not taking either side, attacking Drake, thinking Drake's an enemy still. And Apu trying to recruit Yamato to be on his, when everything, falls, when the dust settles, we're going to take over, which is a great move for Apu because Yamato is super strong, so it would be a good ally for him to have, although I kind of wonder, doesn't that just put him in the same position he's in now, following Kaido? He's still following someone just stronger, but it was interesting. It was a good, I guess, continuation of the Apu kind of side story that we see going on there, and Drake obviously pursuing him and trying to get him. I did like the part about the learning about Apu's abilities, that he has to make eye contact with the person as well as they have to hear it. Just gives another weakness to a Devil Fruit that seemed very overpowered without any explanation, but at this point actually seems kind of subdued. Doesn't actually seem that great to me. But yeah, so that was interesting. And then we also got a little bit about CP0, and we learned that the masked members of CP0 are the top of the top in the Cypher Pole organization. I can't wait to see them. They've obviously been teased even since Dressrosa, way back when they showed up there. So these guys have been teased for a long time. I'm super excited to see, who they are and how strong they are, what their abilities are. I have a lot of questions about these guys from CP0, but I'm sure that in time we'll get to know that. I do also want to take this minute to float a theory that I have, if I haven't already done it in one of my newsletters here. My guess going forward, right? Because if you guys are in part of the One Piece community at all here on YouTube, you probably have heard about the fact that the Wano arc is structured like a kabuki play that normally has 5 acts, and we're only in Act 3. And so if we're only on Act 3, it seems weird that the raid will succeed. I think that the raid will succeed here in Act 3, but I think that what's going to happen is that right after Kaido is taken down, the Marines are going to swoop in, and they're going to take over Wano. And then Act 4 is going to be taking Wano back from the Marines, getting the independence of Wano back. This is going to elaborate, I think, more on Zoro's part of this story, because so far we haven't really gotten a lot from Zoro, and he's clearly supposed to be one of the focal points, I think, for this story here in the Wano arc. So that's my guess for what's going to happen. So we'll see if I'm right or if I'm wrong. But CP0 would obviously play a huge role in that if I was correct. But moving on to what I think is the real meat of this chapter is the stuff that we got with Sanji. I honestly think that this is one of my favorite moments with Sanji that I've seen so far in this manga. I think it's that good of a moment. First of all, just kind of a logistical thing. We didn't see her hit that girl, and so my gut tells me to question if he really did. I don't know if he really did, but there's something about the way that Oda showed it to us that makes me question whether he actually hit her or something else happened and he just blacked out for a minute and forgot, kind of how, what that effect was. So, I'm skeptical about that, but what really is amazing is the decision making that Sanji has to make here, right? Mr. Morge, going back to the One Piece YouTube community, Mr. Morge, I think either today or yesterday maybe, put out a video about how impactful this moment is. It's a good one. You should go watch it if you haven't already. But just kind of going over how impactful this moment is. It's an amazing moment because it forces Sanji to wrestle with the question of, what if I'm not able to uphold the ideas? What if I can't? What if these modifications take full course and make me unable to do that? And I love that he stops for a minute and questions, what does Luffy want? Does he want a monster who is able to, just this morally depraved human who is able to fight his fights and win? Or does he want who I was, this consistent, morally upstanding guy? What does he want? What does Luffy want? What is more useful to him? I love that this is a question for him. I think that we as the audience, I would answer that Luffy wants Sanji the way that he is. He doesn't want an amoral monster of a fighter. That's not what he wants. That's not why he recruited Sanji in the first place. So, but it's a great dilemma that he's pressed with. And what I think is extremely significant is how he responds to this dilemma, right? First of all, he crushes the Germa suit. I actually made a theory, I don't know if I said it last week or the week before, but I thought for sure that the putting on of the raid suit was what started the modifications, like what allowed this this process to occur. And it turns out, at least Sanji thinks that that's the correct notion, that putting on the suit sparked something, turned some of these modifications on in him, and that's why he ended up like this. But by breaking the suit, he's actively saying, I hate Germa technology. He was warming up to it, right? It gave him the ability to be invisible, an ability he's wanted, forever, for bad reasons, but he's wanted it forever. And so he was warming up to the idea of using this technology, but by destroying the raid suit, he's officially said, Germa science is evil, it's amoral, I'm not going to have anything to do with it. And then contacts Zoro and says, if I'm not the person if I'm not who I am by the end of this fight, take me out. Zoro obviously agreeing. and in agreeing, almost saying, you have to win this fight, you have to survive for me to have that opportunity. It's a great Zoro and Sanji camaraderie moment, I think. I really liked it for that. But then for Sanji to then use Hell Memories again and to go full force, Sanji is leaning into the power, right? He's got to win this fight against Queen. He's got to take Queen out, and he has Zoro lined up to take him out if he's not the same person at the end of this fight. I really love this chapter. It was a huge character moment for Sanji, and very great to see Hell Memories, which is an attack I don't think we've seen since Fishman Island. We see him use that again. I don't think this is going to be the end of the Sanji versus Queen fight, but it definitely is what I would consider the real hard beginning of this fight. So I think from here on out we're going to see a lot more Sanji, getting dirty and getting in this fight really well. But yeah, that's all I had to say about One Piece. I know it took like 10 minutes on just One Piece, so this is probably going to be a long video. But it was a really great chapter. It was an incredible chapter. But moving on, we had also the color pages, right? So the first color page went to High School Family. It's crazy to me that it got another color page so soon after the first one, but it did. And it's an okay color page, just Kotaro in front of, on the stage there. It's in color. It's all right. I have no complaints with it. I don't actually have that much to say about this. I loved that the dad rode the roller coaster. I thought that was really funny. How much enjoyment he got out of that. And I really liked the camaraderie of the family. I liked seeing them come together and have that moment there at the end. That was really cool to me, and a good high school family chapter. I really do think that this chapter was just a genuinely good chapter from this manga. It was good. It made me feel good. I love that the whole family dresses up as the other members of the tennis team, the members of this band, and that the song goes off really well. I love that for Kotaro. So it was a good high school family chapter. But that's really all I really have to say about it. And then moving on to the second color page this week, we had the Elusive Samurai got a color page. The color page itself is okay. I don't really have any complaints about it. It's kind of normal. It's our Tokiyuki, and I think in the back there's the ninja guy. Dressed in like modern day clothes, looking at a tram there. So it's fine. It's a fine color page, but it didn't blow my socks off or anything. But the chapter I liked a lot. First of all, I love the mention of the celibacy concept in martial arts. This is actually like a big thing. And I don't know if you guys read Hajime no Ippo. I'm a huge Hajime no Ippo fan, but that manga actually does this too. Boxing, the sport of boxing, has this concept where most combat you deprive yourself of sexual expressions in order to gain strength. This is like a real thing that's been practiced for like thousands of years. I thought it was interesting that a character did that. He's perpetually celibate for the sole reason of increasing his strength. And Tokiyuki, I think, even says it's not like monks do, as in suppressing it to eliminate it. He's suppressing it to then use that fuel to fight, which, whether you ascribe to that idea or not, it was an interesting idea, and definitely one that's very historically accurate. It was definitely used and still is used by some fighters today. I will say this chapter had lots and lots of exposition. Essentially, it was saying one thing: we have 3 forts, and if one of the forts falls, we're done. We're gonna get got. That was pretty much the extent of what was happening there. So it just kind of said it multiple times, and so I don't know that I loved all the exposition there. Especially, like, I also read the manga Kingdom, great manga, check it out if you haven't. But so from reading that manga, this seemed kind of like the most dumbed down war tactics I could see, which is understandable. I don't think that this manga is supposed to be specifically like a war tactics investigation, so I think that's okay. It's okay to do it that way, but it was a lot of exposition. I love Tokiyuki in this chapter. I love that panel where the horse is like jumping down the rocks. I love how skilled he's getting and how good he's maximizing the thing that he's good at. This is stealth and escaping. He's maximizing it, and I love to see it. Also, I really love the Hawk guy. He is super cool. I love the idea that he's observing the battlefield through these hawks. I don't know exactly how he's doing this, if they're saying there's some kind of magic ability here or not. But I assume not, because so far we haven't seen anything like that in this manga. But I loved seeing that panel, and that was really cool. And then learning that he's actually related to Kojiro. And then he, tells Kojiro to wear that headband into battle. They're of the same clan, and he gives that order to Kojiro. I thought it was really cool. I liked that moment with that. And of course, the chapter ends in disaster. It ends with one of the 3 forts being taken over by the enemy. You could see this coming a mile away from all the exposition at the beginning of the chapter, but obviously it leaves us with a sense of suspense. What's going to go on next week? So I look forward to seeing what's going on, but that's pretty much all I had for the Elusive Samurai this week. Moving on into the other stuff we talk about here, there wasn't anything new in the magazine this week, although I believe that's coming next week, so we'll be on the lookout for that. It'll probably have the cover like it usually does, but we did get something ending this week. With a new round of serialization, of course, that means that things are going to end. Obviously, we've already had Candy Flurry end, earlier, I think a month or 2 ago. So we've already had a casualty of what will eventually be the new serialization, cycle coming in. But the other one was the Hunters Guild Red Hood, and that ended at just chapter 18. Extremely short run for this manga. Getting into this chapter specifically, Grimm's little decision to be just turn it back so that I can fight was okay. It's the last chapter, so who's gonna care? If Grimm dies, it'd be tough for them to kill Grimm in a way that was meant anything to us. So I don't know about that. I did like that everyone from the competition on the boat showed up to fight these werewolves that the mayor created. I thought that was, I liked seeing them come in and fight. And I gotta say that I did actually like the message. And what actually makes me kind of sad almost for this manga is that I actually believe that this manga had a good premise. I think that the author of this manga, and I forget what their name is, but I think there was good intentions here, and there was actually intentions to do something very unique and groundbreaking in the way that they set up the story for Velu to be kind of this character that stood outside of the story itself and makes his own decisions. I thought that was an interesting concept, and this chapter then kind of doubling down on, okay, what story do you want to make it? Do you want to make it a happy story or a sad story? And Velu saying, I just want the story to continue. I don't need, it to be happy. I don't need it to end sad. I want it to continue as this metaphor of human life, right? There are good times and there are bad times, but the metaphor being just keep walking, keep struggling, keep moving forward. I actually think that's a good moral, and I kind of like seeing it. So I was a little upset that it ended with that. And then we see the last panel with Velu and Grimm there standing saying, the work has just begun, kind of echoing this whole keep moving forward idea, which again, I think is a very good idea. But unfortunately, this is the last chapter of this manga. This manga will not keep moving forward. It is over. But I really think that there were good ideas here, and I think that the cancellation so early really kind of almost kneecapped this story. It wasn't able to fully bring to expression what I think the mangaka probably wanted to over maybe even years of time, which is to bring this epic conclusion that I'm sure they had in mind from the beginning, to bring this to a close in a satisfying way. They didn't have enough time for it. And so while I like the moral, I think it's a good one, I didn't resonate with it emotionally because you just simply didn't have enough time, and the pacing was incredibly rushed and then incredibly slow. If I ever do a return to sender video on this, I'll talk more about it. But I definitely think that the arc we just came in, that exam arc, was incredibly slow paced, and then this arc, immediately we fly into the end. It was an incredibly weirdly paced show, and this really hurt it. But I am sad to see it go, because I did like the concept. I thought the world was very interesting, and I was very interested in seeing what the next steps were for the Hunters Guild Red Hood. But unfortunately, that's all we got there. As far as, moving on, as far as what's on break, nothing was on break this week. Somehow we got everything in the magazine this week. Got a full house. And so we didn't have anything on break, which brings me to my highlights. This week, guys, I got 3 highlights. And the first one is Jujutsu Kaisen. I believe this was on break last week, so we didn't get a Jujutsu Kaisen chapter last week, but we come into it, and we come into it hard. Getting into the meat of the chapter, first of all, the immediate domain expansion was awesome. I love that Higuruma just throws up the domain immediately. And this is obviously so as a reader, right, I am conditioned to know that domain expansions are terrifying. If you get trapped in a domain, it's pretty much like you've lost the battle. You have to you're really on the back foot from there on, right? And so when he does this, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's over. Yuji just got himself trapped in a domain, and he immediately, and even Yuji's taken aback by this, right? So I'm immediately like, whoa, this got so real. But this is such a cool domain. I really like this, the look of this domain. I like the guillotines all throughout it, and the courtroom setting. It's really cool. And then we get some exposition about the fact that domains were actually much more common in the past because they weren't as powerful. Domains were used simply to apply 1 or 2 rules, not as a one-hit kill combat ability. So essentially saying that if you were to create a domain that functioned more like in a weaker way, or in a way that's less combat oriented, then you could actually use it easier. But because domains have become known as these one-hit kill moves, they're incredibly hard to master now. But they're not that hard to master. They're only hard to master if you make it a one-hit kill, monstrous move. But then getting into the specifics of this domain, this is awesome. The judgeman knows this fact about Yuji, right? He brings to the trial the case that Yuji went into this gambling hall, pachinko parlor, I think it said specifically. And Yuji has to defend himself by either remaining silent, denying it, or confessing, right? He can do any of those 3, but he has to, that's how he's got to defend himself. And there's the secret evidence that he doesn't know about, right? This is such a cool setup, and definitely like a hard sell kind of thing, right? And so this was a really cool idea, and Yuji obviously working that out in his head, figuring out what the best option is for him. And then he ends up confessing that he did go in, but it was just to use the bathroom. And then the evidence obviously being that the security camera footage of him putting in the change, getting change at a bank. And Higuruma saying, if you would have actually stayed silent or denied that you entered it, this evidence wouldn't have mattered, right? Because we wouldn't have had any evidence that you entered the pachinko parlor. But because you said you did, now I know that you're lying. Now this evidence is used against you, and the judgment pronounced him guilty. And then we see that what this did is it took Yuji's cursed energy. He doesn't have the cursed energy. Now, one thing that I think is interesting about this is this is not a super overpowered domain expansion. However, Higuruma probably was able to kill several people like this, because when you get hit without your cursed energy, that's gonna be it for most people. He unfortunately ran into Yuji, who is like a superhuman even without his cursed energy. So I think that Yuji's actually going to be able to fight this fight, in an okay way. I think he might still have a decent chance of winning this, but Higuruma's ability was really cool. This chapter was super cool to see that. I'm super hyped to see where this fight goes from here on out. But yeah, that was Jujutsu Kaisen. It was really good. Which will bring me to my second highlight of the week, which is Dr. Stone. And boy, does Dr. Stone deserve a highlight this week. First of all, I love the idea that Chrome had of the multi-step rocket, right? Getting all the pieces up into space and then assembling them up there. Obviously, that's what the actual space station does. Zeno even says that. So this is a possible idea. It's an idea that has existed in history. They just have to figure out a way for it to work, right? And so Chrome has come up with this idea over the years that they've been working on this to try and get a two-way rocket, right? And I love the passionate plea to them to take this vote on whether to have a two-way or a one-way rocket. And this whole chapter, I love this passion that all of the characters exhibit, right? And so they have the vote, and the two-way rocket wins, right? So yay, we're gonna, everybody's gonna be okay, which we kind of could figure out from the beginning, right? But then Sai actually goes into the program to say, oh, it couldn't hurt to see, who voted for what, right? And he goes in and he sees that not a single person voted for the one-way rocket. Everybody voted for the two-way option, and this includes Zeno. What I love about this, right, is the fact that this is anonymous means that this crew is so together morally, together on what the priorities are, that they took this vote and they all chose the same thing. I love that. It's so heartwarming and so cool to see. And great for these characters. I really think so. And then, of course, we end the chapter by Senku saying that they're going to have to invent the internet now. And so I can't wait to see how they do that. All of these inventions are getting more and more, outlandish as the series goes on. Obviously, this is the final arc of the series, which is a shame, but it was just a really great chapter. It was a really emotionally moving chapter, and you just got to read it to really feel that. You got to be a Dr. Stone fan to really feel that. I really like this chapter, and I like this manga right now. I think this final arc has been nothing but phenomenal. So I really like that as well. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. And the last one, my last highlight this week is Black Clover. An amazing chapter this week. Black Clover. I don't actually have that many things to say about it. But the first thing is there are some amazing team-ups in this chapter. I think that what Tabata is able to do better than maybe any mangaka I've seen is to think, okay, how would these two powers match up? How could these two characters use their powers together to make them stronger? And he comes up with great ways to do this. I mean, we just saw this with Langris and Finral fighting Zenon before, a couple chapters ago, and now we see the Black Bulls coming in full force. Black Bulls obviously already a team-oriented guild. They're already a team-oriented organization, and so we see stuff like the mirroring of the oh my gosh, I can't remember her name, but the mirroring going on, and then the cursing of the giant of the building itself. It was really great. It was both of those things were really cool to see. I loved seeing them. And then, of course, that panel where all the Black Bulls are standing together, saying, "Give us back our captain." That was awesome. The Black Bulls have come to get Yami back. This is the best. I love seeing it. I love seeing this. The Black Bulls are the central character of this manga, and I loved seeing moments like this where they work together as a team to accomplish what seems impossible. And they wrecked this guy. This guy I thought was supposed to be the big bad, but they wrecked this guy quick. I don't know if he's going to make a comeback. He might, but I really think that we might have wrecked him pretty good here. So yeah, I love this chapter. It was a great Black Clover chapter. I tell you what, this arc in general is making me just want to go back and reread the whole series. I tell you what. So it was a great chapter and good to see for sure. I loved it. But that will bring me to my mentions before we head out of here. I did want to mention My Hero Academia. The fight with Star and Stripe and Shigaraki is still going on and may be getting close to a conclusion, but I didn't highlight it, but I wanted to mention it. P6, also a really good chapter. I love the emotion that this manga is getting able to evoke, and the art style is a little rough for me, but I think that with time I will get used to it, and it does a pretty good job even of conveying what the manga wants to convey. So I like that too. Mago-chan, really good. Pretty funny this week. I love the stuff with Sierra and her trying to get in there. And Ninitsi is hilarious. Super great addition to this manga. Me and Roboco was really funny. Mifune's whole conversation with the idol kid, that was hilarious. The whole day was really funny. I loved seeing it. It was very relatable. Niru, Way of the Martial Artist, was really good this week too. Very emotional. I love the stuff with his mom. I love that emotion there. It was pretty good. And Sakamoto Days was also incredible. I really wanted to highlight Sakamoto Days, but because I just did it last week because it got the cover, I decided not to. But it was a great continuation of the two fights that we've seen so far. Nagumo obviously taking up most of the chapter, and Sakamoto even having a little bit. So all great. Definitely check them out. Read everything in the magazine, guys. I'm sure that doesn't come as a surprise to you all who listen to these videos, watch my videos, every week. But I love Shonen Jump. I love weekly Shonen Jump a lot. So just, read the chapters. What's it going to hurt? But hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked anything I had to say, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and definitely comment down in the comment section. I'd love to communicate with you guys. I love when I get to see your comments and react to them. So definitely do that as well. But for now, this is Shonen Express, signing off.